All right, thank you for confirming. Good afternoon, everyone, once again, and welcome to another edition of the Rome Business School Business Leadership Development Series. My name is Sarah Ugu, and I am so excited to be here today. It's been a while since I joined the series. I'm so glad to be back and to have another engaging section with the students. Good afternoon, everyone. So our distinguished speaker, Dr. Femi Kayode, is here, and also our moderator, who is ready to take over today's section. I won't be moderating the section. I'm just here to give us a few housekeeping rule to help us understand how to navigate today's section. Today, we'll be talking about something very interesting, which is on identifying and evaluating business opportunities. Before we go into that, let us be aware that everyone's mic is muted, and this is done so that we can minimize background noises and ensure that everyone can hear our presenter clearly. So this means that if you have questions, you can raise up your hand during the section and the moderator will call you up to take up your question. You can also make use of the chat box if you have questions and just type it in. The moderator will also be available to take note of that. And also like everyone to rename their devices. If your device is named in numbers or your device name, please rename your device. We want to be able to identify everyone and, of course, call you by your name. And lastly, this section is going to be recorded. So if you like your camera to be on, want to ensure that you are in a sitting position before putting on your camera. If you're not in a so good sitting position or your environment is not so great, we encourage you to put off your camera. So that being said, I'm going to be handing over to the moderator, Mr. Sixtus Ekocha. He'll be moderating today's section. Mr. Sixtus, I hope you're ready for us.
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Rome Business School Nigeria Business Leadership Development Program, with the topic for today, which is identifying and evaluating business opportunities. As you all know, my name is Sixtus Ekocha, the founder and chief creative officer of Brandon Communications Limited, and it is my pleasure to moderate today's event, which brings top personality from prestigious industry and the arts to Rome Business School. So that's our community can hear and learn from. I'm so excited about today's program. Today we have our special guest, Dr. Femi Kayode, who will be speaking to us on the topic, identifying and evaluating business opportunities. I'm going to start with Dr. Femi's brief bio. Dr. Femi is a highly accomplished veterinarian and social entrepreneur passionate about improving animal health and driving business growth. He's a strategic thinker, a skilled communicator, and a compassionate leader. His diverse experience and commitment to excellence make him a valuable asset in the veterinary and business communities. Dr. Kayode was elected to serve on the governing board of the Veterinary Council of Nigeria, the government body responsible for regulating the training and practice of all veterinary surgeons in Nigeria. As the youngest member to be elected in the history of the governing board, Dr. Kayode has led the board in critical aspects of its operation to adopt cutting-edge technology in delivering on its core mandates. He has been an Ashoka Fellow since 2018 and a Making Core Health Fellow since 2020. Proudly, Dr. Kayode is the founder and CEO of Farm Alert, a multi-million animal health care brand in Africa, enabling easy access to affordable animal health care in underserved communities in Africa. He is married to Mrs. Kayode Margaret and blessed with 4 children, Oreofe, Eniola, Ayomi, and Adiogu. After reading the bio, all right, so Mr. Femi Kayode, I hope you're here with us.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, great. We would have a few questions to ask you today. I hope you're ready for us today.
No, so that's why I said that depends on what you mean by ready, but I'm here.
All right. So, Mr. Femka, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, so I was welcome everyone. I think I'm really very delighted to be here. First of all, uh, I'm a practicing veterinarian, a proud one, and I need to tell Rome Business School that I have a colleague, one of your students, it's also a vet, and she's been asking me to also enroll in the program. So I'm hoping that after this, I told her I might get an honorary degree from Rome Business School, but that's just on a lighter note. So Dr. Jumoke Ashafa, she's a senior colleague and then a good friend, also a member of the Rome Business School. But let me take this moment to thank the institution. Producing better people, it's a higher calling, right? I think what this nation needs is better people. The situation doesn't need to get better. It's the people that needs to get better because it is people that make places, not places making people. Somebody jokingly said, if you move all Nigerians to the US and move everybody in the US, move Elon Musk to, to Nigeria, that maybe it's possible that this tide turns and Nigeria becomes US and US, first of all, what you will see is people urinating on the wall in the US, right? Maybe that happens also with the migrant crisis, but it is people that make places. So anytime I'm opportune to speak on a platform that makes people better, I think is the highest calling. And I'm super proud, super, really very proud of what Rome Business School is doing. And we can only wish you the best of luck. And let's hope soon I also get to join the program. So, dear moderator, if you don't mind, I just want to quickly share my screen. I've been told I have 40 minutes from the email that was sent. So I'll try as much as possible to stay within that timeline and then to also entertain questions at it may come. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, please, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Fantastic. So let's roll 40 minutes. I've been saddled with the responsibility of discussing how to identify and evaluate business opportunity. As earlier introduced, my name is Coyote, and I happened to find Parmalat 2019. That's about 5 years ago. But I've been a veterinarian for 16 years. So I've been in the industry, in the animal health care industry for 20 years now. Also a member of the Veterinary Council Board, which is a government regulatory agency. So now I think the first thought that I want to everybody to hold there, it's that eyes that look are common. In fact, they are everywhere, but eyes that see are rare. Eyes that look are pretty very common. Eyes that see are rare. So one of the biggest prayer is to have a seeing eyes. And we're going to start up with a case study, right? And we're going to have a case study of about Aliko Dangote, that's Africa's richest man. One time he was toppled, and the news went almost viral that he has become the second. But again, I'm proud to also say that he maintains the lead, and one of my biggest heroes. So we're going to be having, let's say, 10 minutes conversation about him. I'm going to be reading something. So I wrote a book. I turned 40 July, and I compiled all my foolish decision in the book and how to save. I thought that's the best way to give back to the society. I've made really very terrible mistakes. So all my foolish decision, and by the way, it's possible. I still think there's still a few foolish decision I'm making that needs to change. So I'm going to read the case study from the book I wrote about Aliko Dangote. So if you don't mind, I will share. Just pay attention. It's going to be like 3-page read, and then we can have a conversation afterwards, since that's the case study we're going to be using for today's meeting. So chapter 1, the foolish man and his mega refinery complex. So some years ago, Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, and please pay attention because you're going to be answering a question, one or two questions after this case study so that we can all learn and then rub minds together. So some years ago, Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, invited media leaders to a luncheon at Protea Hotel in Ikeja to mark his 55th birthday. By the way, he's now 67. Some of his guests sat around him at the table, at the center table. They chatted freely, discussing about our country and the state of the economy. Soon veered into discussing the absurdity of our country, being a major crude exporter and also a major importer of refined petroleum products. Our colleagues from a major business paper said the local conditions were unfavorable to any investor who wanted to build a refinery. He then made a remark that I believe he will live to regret. He said, and I'm quoting, "Only a foolish man built a refinery in Nigeria." So Aliko, who listened to all our business and political pontification, interjected, "I am that foolish man." A pin drop silence enveloped the table as he dropped the unexpected news. My company has just decided to build a refinery in the country, but we are doing it big. Those were his exact words as the multi-dollar billionaire told us he was willing to spend close to 9 billion on the project. Eventually, he did spend 20 billion, right? The media big man became speechless. The rest of us caught the contagion of being flummoxed as well, as Aliko expatiated on the project. He said it will be a petrochemical complex. As the project was still on the drawing board, he did not tell us it would be the biggest refinery in the world, capable of processing 650,000 barrels of crude daily. At the hint he gave, all the hint he gave was that it will be big. Our takeaway was that it will be big, like Aliko's involvement in cement, sugar, pasta, and other businesses. He didn't say it will include a fertilizer plant, a power plant that can supply enough electricity to Nigerian Southwest, excluding Lagos. The Jinjatu project is now sitting in all majesty in the Lekki Free Trade Zone in Ibeju Lekki, covering a land area of approximately 2,600 hectares, 7 times the size of VI. The complex is world's largest single train refinery. And then, of course, the refinery, I've jumped a paragraph. The refinery, according to its fact sheet, can meet 100% of Nigerians' requirement of all refined product, including gasoline, diesel, kerosene, aviation jet. It will also be able to produce a surplus of each of these products for export. Designed for 100 Nigerian crude, the refinery has the flexibility to process other crude. No wonder it is located near the seashore. For Aliko, all is well that ends well. The complex will bring to an end our country's many decades of shame for being unable to refine its crude and having to depend on importation, wasting scarce forex. The foolish man of 12 years ago has demonstrated once again that he is a man of wisdom, fearless, shrewd investor who sees the bigger picture when compatriots are backed down by parochialism and immediate monetary gain. All right, so that's the entire read. So please, I wish I can see the comment, but okay, yeah, I can see the comment. So let's talk. We just quickly drop a comment. Dangote Refinery, a foolish decision or a business opportunity? So let me just quickly pick up a few comments. Is it? What do you think? First thought, 12 years down the line, this case study was written by somebody. Is it business opportunity? Is it foolish decision? Right. You're still having a lot of trouble. Foolish decision, business opportunity. Right. with all his trouble, quite a lot of people are saying it's a business opportunity. All right. So daring, absurd. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Right. So looks like we can we can end the class here. So let's thank you everyone. Let's go. My introductory thoughts. To perfect the skill of identification, you've got to expand your definition of an opportunity to include pain, problem, frustration. You've got to expand your definition of an opportunity. You know, opportunity looks like a positive word. So that's why this first thought, it's pretty very important, right? That we have to consciously, to be able to identify opportunity or perfect the skill of identifying business opportunity, to include pain, problems, and frustration. So I said, pain is not just something that hurts. It is something that can be used. Something that can be used. Because quite a handful of people, most entrepreneurs run towards, so you will love to call it opportunity. But for the purpose of this class, we should call it problems or pain or frustration. Because that's what it is. I had one of my biggest growth opportunity in pain. I think it was 2015. Everything was rosy, and I had a few business success. Then I got distracted, and the business crashed. The business crashed in 2016. And at the end of the business crash, I was owing probably to the tune of 17 million. That was big money then anyway. Really very big money. Strong enough to make my heart skip after every sound of my phone ring. 6 months, I was in despair. I was depressed, broken. And then one of those days, I turned on my TV set, and I saw Aliko Dangote. Aliko is one of the people I follow very intently anyway, just as a side note. And I saw him giving news, he was granting a news interview. So something told me to Google what his debt was. And I Googled it. And then he had I think it was about the time he was loaning money from banks. He was owing this bank 400 and something million, owing another bank 500 and something million, owing another bank 400 and something million. And he was still granting news interview. So I spoke to myself. I said, look at this young man owing this much, and I'm owing 17 million, 6 months depressed. So I jacked back up, and I learned a few things from the painful 6-month experience. First, focus. Second, I also learned a few reserves. I have a few lessons. I wrote some in my book, Full at 40, right? But pain can be used. You will not be perfect in identifying opportunity if you run from pain or from problems, right? So for every successful people, I have a few quotes, opportunity is problem. So that when you see problem, you will not run from it, right? And you will be better equipped to handle it. So I have a few quotes, and I'll just run through the quotes to help us. Because if I can get you to embrace problems, people are going out of this country. They said Japa, because people see problems, a lot of problems with Nigeria, right? I went for a meeting and I was asked to speak. And I said, if you think there's anything wrong with Nigeria, raise up your hand. I'm not sure if I saw any hands down when I asked the same question, when I asked the question. So it means that generally people think there's something wrong with Nigeria, right? So, but they are buying ticket, go to the visa, went to an embassy, was the last 2-3 weeks also, and the whole place was filled, right? So If you say there's an opportunity, people run towards it. If you say there's a problem, people run away from it. One of the biggest things I need to sell to everyone here is that problems are opportunities, right? So Michael Johnson said, pressure is nothing more than the shadow of great opportunity. Clark said, turbulence is life force. It is opportunity. It is opportunity. Let's love turbulence and use it for change. Bono said, whenever you see darkness, there's extraordinary opportunity for the light to burn. Sue said, new beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. I love that, right? A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity when an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. That's Churchill. Churchill. Ralph Waldo said, every wall is a door. Every wall is a door. Entrepreneurs are simply those who understand that there's little difference between obstacle and opportunity and are able to turn both to their advantage. So Kennedy said, when written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger, the other represents opportunity. So you see, Rockefeller, one of the richest person who lived, owner of Standard Oil, pretty very successful guy before he died. I always try to turn every disaster into an opportunity. So you will see from all these quotes, problems are opportunity, right? So I think we should redefine our topic to how to look for trouble. The only issue with this topic is that if they had used it as a cover page for this invitation, you will not come, right? Some will even say they have enough trouble in their lives. Why do I have to look for trouble? But that's it. So what we are going to be talking about in another 20 minutes that I have left or so is how to look for trouble. Are you comfortable? All right, so let's go. So how do you identify? The first thing is problem identification. Problem identification. And this is very important. So notice I didn't use the word opportunity identification, how to identify opportunities, right? So that we'll call it what it is. If you want to really kill something, you have to call it the right name. So how do you identify problem? And I think the key word that has worked for me, I don't have an MBA, so I'll talk like what has worked for me. What has really worked for me is my ability to look, listen, and learn. To look, listen, and learn. So first of all, what problem gets your attention? Before Dangote built the refinery, our case study, he kept on, he had made 2 attempts together with Femi Otedola, approached the government to buy 2 of the government's refinery. It was frustrated. Dangote, for the last 30 years, has consistently said that if we don't manufacture, we will be exporting jobs and importing poverty. Right. So quite a handful of us might not be like Dangote, but you have to pay attention. What problem gets your attention? What issue? What frustrates you? And the reason why that is important is because business opportunity, engaging and making business opportunity, turning them into reality, requires a measure of strength and you not giving up, right? So Dangote was granting an interview and he said, if he knew everything that was involved in building a refinery, by the way, hope you know, I think a few years ago, there were news everywhere that Dangote was in trouble. He had borrowed money. He thought he would finish. They didn't give him the first land he wanted to use. He had to go to another state. And then the interests were mounting. He had borrowed money, 2-3 years, he couldn't start the project, right? Couldn't start. By the time he started, interests were already mounting. What was supposed to cost him $9 billion costed him $20 billion. So you if you're not attached in some ways to the fundamentals of having the problem solved, the journey is too long a thing that there's every tendency that you give up. So it is not all problem you can solve. And, you know, I have this philosophy. Some people come to me and say, oh, there's problem with palm oil, there's problem with this, there's problem with that. Right. You cannot solve all problems. You are not jack of all trades. So you have to pay attention. What gets your attention? Some people, when they see, some people might be looking at this, my slide, and just feel like, what kind of stupid slide is this? Well, there are many eyes that look. The eyes that see are rare. So you have to keep asking yourself, what frustrates you? Lagos traffic, does it frustrate you enough? If it frustrates you enough, gets you concerned, don't just think about it like it's a problem. I've spent the first 10 minutes of this meeting to tell you that what frustrates you and looks like a problem is an opportunity. While you're flying out, people are flying into this country. I cannot, you know, when I was doing a particular interview, they asked me what makes me think that I will come back. I will come back. There's so much problem to solve, right? So then there's a lot of opportunities where there's problem. So the second thing you need to ask yourself, what problem do you have unique insight for? Dangote, still back to our case study, said that they don't go into any problem that you cannot wake them up 3 a.m. in the midnight that the first 5 people in the company cannot answer you about. So if you see that there's a problem, what unique insight do you have? I've just told us that I've been in the animal health space. And by the way, Family is doing brilliantly very well. Right. We're expanding to other African countries by next year. Right. So it's my field. I've been there 20 years. Right. So if it gets your attention, you have to ask yourself another question. Do you have unique insight? Because what really puts you ahead is your unique insight. So you will have to be looking out for this whole thing and paying attention and learning, because you need to understand yourself. Businesses are built on people, not necessarily on problems. They're built on people. Problem could inspire them, but they are built on people. And the people who last in converting, long enough in converting a business or a business opportunity that were gladly called business problem or issues around the country, are people who pay attention to what angers them. More importantly, they pay attention to the unique insight they have about a problem. So once you have an idea of what gets you angry, and you know, most people who succeed really have some particular threshold for pay. I will talk about that when I'm rounding up. So market research. Some people, and pardon me, it could be your husband, right? Really getting you angry. The first thing you need to ask, is that person a problem? Right. What is the intensity of the problem? What is the size of the problem? Intensity, I mean that there are problems. If you bring in, let's say you have, is food a big problem now in Nigeria? Is food a big problem? I can bet you yes. The monthly budget for food in my house has doubled, right? So it's a big problem. And you know what? Somebody was jokingly telling me that salary has not doubled, but problems have doubled, right? So it's a unique problem. If rice, a bag of 50 kg rice is being sold at, let's say, 100,000, I don't know what it is now, right? Let's say about 100,000. And it's a big problem. there was a bag that we're buying for maybe around 20,000. I don't know what's a bag of rice. Who knows? A bag of rice like 5 years ago, what was it like? A bag of rice, let me go to the comment section. A bag of rice 5 years ago, what was it like? Or maybe an average of 7.5, you can imagine, 23,000. Well, I don't know whether a bag of rice was 7.5 then. So, somebody said it's now 105. So look at it. Let's say that this is a big problem. But in as much as you said it's a big problem, don't forget we said it's a big opportunity, right? And you have what it takes to produce rice. You have a unique insight to produce rice for, let's say, 60,000. Will you crash the market? Of course. So is it a problem that has a potential to do well? We are a major rice eating country. Great. The sizes are big. So you need to ask yourself, you need to find out what's the intensity of the problem. Is it painkiller? Is it vitamins? I think these are all in rich literatures that you can read from. Because again, if problems are not biting people too well, you might not be able to convert it into a scalable business. But if it's biting people really very well, like fuel, you have the power to convert water to fuel, why not? You'll be rich. I guarantee you 6 months. In fact, I will invest in you, right? Because fuel is a big pain problem, is a big pain point now. So is the size big? How many people are bothered by that same problem? How many people are bothered by some relationship speakers have gotten real big market because there are plenty troubling husbands, right? Right. So what's the size? The third thing you need to research on, and research, you cannot do these things without research, right? Is that are there existing problem solvers? So if rice is a big pain point, right? We're solving it. Where are we getting the rice from? You have to figure out what it is that they are doing. And then more importantly, lastly, you have to ask yourself, so what's the unique perspective you're bringing into solving this problem? What's the unique perspective you're bringing into solving this problem? And that's very critical. Once you do your market research, the next thing is to evaluate the problems, right? Do I have the resources? Do I have the resources? So I use the word source and resource. Source is, do I even have what it takes to start? In terms of, do I have the technical team? If I say, so I know that fuel is a big issue, right? And I know that the price of fuel has gone up, gasoline, right? And I cannot convert water to fuel. So do I know enough to build a refinery? Hell no. So do I have the technical ability to do this? Maybe not, right? So I have to consider, do I have the source? The resource means going back. Dangote planned and said, I'm going to build this refinery for $9 billion. So that's the source. It eventually got to 20 billion, more than 100%. If he didn't have the resource, ability to go back to that same well and push for more funds, it would have crumbled. I said newspapers were picking it up then, I think 4 or 5 years ago, that Dangote is in trouble, everything he has built, because he used the liquidity of his cement factory to back the debt he owed. And everybody was afraid that he was going to crash. Do I have the resources, the technical team? I will have put financial as the thought, because again, there's always a way around money. You will, if your idea is good, you could convince people, you have the technical team. People believed. Like a few, 2, 3 banks were the people who saved Dangote because they knew that they had a very strong team. And I think the last in evaluating, do I have the social network to get it through? Can I call? Building a refinery requires energy. Building a bakery, and guess what? Bread is a big problem also. If I'm going home and I see my wife's call there are two things you will ask. I will keep the second one. The first one will be buy bread. I don't know whether people can understand that my own family cannot live without bread, right? I've watched bread move from 1,000 to 2,000. So if I now realize that this is a big problem, I can solve this. I have the technical team. Do I have the social network? Because my technical team will not be strong enough to make it all work. Can I call people who produce the machineries? You have to evaluate that. Once you do that, and all you could think, oh, I have the technical team to start with. By the way, I know a bit about it. I have the financial resources to kickstart. I have the social network to make sure it works, because problems don't work in isolation. Then we'll now go to the third thing. You have to do a pilot. I cannot overemphasize this. I see people throw in their two legs into opportunities and they get burnt. I've done that before. I told us 2015 to 2016, our business was doing well. I thought something was an opportunity. I threw my two legs in it. And by the time I was done, I realized that, my market research was deficient. I didn't understand everything about the business. I lost, so I couldn't make that work. But more importantly, I lost what was really working. And I was indebted. It took me 4 years to pay that debt, right? Don't throw everything in, because you will learn by doing a pilot. So you think bread is a big problem, not having it. Maybe the expenses, salary has not increased, and then bread has moved from 1,000 to 2,000, depending on what part of the country you're in. And somebody wants to sell his bakery because it closed down, and you think it's a big opportunity. Look at what Dangote did. He started by trading what he wanted to build. Right. So do a pilot, start selling bread, gain insights, get the data. Because again, if you throw in all resources, you are at risk of losing everything, right? No matter how it is pushing you, and allow me use that word, do a pilot. Have the patience to throw in a little resources. If it's something that is manufacturing based, right? Start by trading it, sell it, even know the customer. Don't throw in everything at a go. Once you're doing a pilot, one of the big, and I speak to entrepreneurs, and I'm also talking from my experiences. You have to remove bias. They said when you're giving birth to the brain is empty slate. They call it tabula rasa. The society has written things in your mind that has become a big bias. Don't forget, the people who were sitting, who Dangote will invite to sit around the table with him, are not dull people. They are very wise people. And they all concluded that anybody who invests in the refinery must be a foolish man. He said it would be foolish for anyone to invest in one. Well, technically it's foolish, because the people who really control things makes it pretty very difficult, and they have a lot of money, right? So it was a foolish decision, right? Whatever it is, Dangote knew then, I really don't know. But you will have to, when you're doing a pilot, remove bias. Forget everything, learn it all, forget it all. And pay attention to the numbers, the data. See, you cannot just believe or swear to God that this thing will work, right? You have to pay attention to the numbers. Is it working? Are the numbers good? And one of my biggest breakthrough has come from something I had least believed. And I can share stories. And it has happened countless numbers of times. I will hold a belief, I will get to a junction, and I'll tell myself, Femi, remove all bias, pay attention. And the revelation I will get in most of those instances, I'll just be, And when I wanted to write my book and I said a fool at 40, I went to my studio and I said, I want you to take a picture of me that looks so unserious. He asked me why. I said, because I'm writing a book, A Fool at 40. And he said I should not put my face on that book, that will not sell. And by the way, it's selling, right? Because there's this mindset that the country has that is really pushing us down, right? You could be 40 and still be a fool. Even realizing that maybe everything you believe could be wrong. It's a big step in the progress journey, right? Because when a madman understands that he's mad, he's well, right? Remove all bias. Pay attention to the data. Is it working? Every day, my people understand. You cannot come to me with English. We've banned English in Farmerland. We've totally banned English because people who speak good English sometimes don't even know what they are doing, right? In fact, people have used English to cover up major weaknesses. Show me the numbers, right? So it's a numbers game. If it is working, the numbers will tell you. If it is not working, don't model numbers. I think if there's anything they need to permanent in schools is to permanent English and permanent maths and remove English, because sometimes our English can be something that is meant to just expose our bias. Pay attention to the numbers. Do it small first. Pay attention to the numbers and then decide whether you will go or you will not go. So, because you cannot be half-hearted in the decision. Once you've done it in a small way, the numbers are right, it will be tough. No business person will tell you. Dangote said he grew his white hair building the refinery. The first one was when Obajana had the problem. They've done everything, they've sunk in money, and then they realized that the soil they were using was really not the soil they were supposed to use. So they had to do it all over again. That was when the first time I heard that he said he had white hair. He had also mentioned that when he's building this refinery, all the white hair now became really very, very pronounced. So if you've made a decision because the numbers are right, you have to stick to it. And keep learning. Maintain an open mind. Will it work? Will it not work? You have to maintain an open mind, but you cannot cower on something you have decided to do. You have to stay on it until it works. And then by the time, because again, there will be challenges. Like Dangote, there will be challenges. 3 years, debt was mounting. They had to leave the land they wanted to use, go to another land. It will be challenging. It will be tough. But because you've done your numbers, you're pretty sure that it is not your bias that is moving you forward. You're logical about it. Once you say go, let it be go. Stay on it until it works. And then I think my final slide, and that's my closing thought, right? Business is an intellectual sport. How you think matters, right? So you've got to use your brain. Sometimes intuition works. Sometimes your feeling can kick in, but it's an intellectual sport, right? If you don't think things through, and by the way, I hope you know that once you start and it is working, more enemies will come up, right? So you have to be sure of what exactly it is that you're doing. So you have to use your brain. And with this, I want to thank Rome Business School for the opportunity to be useful to the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Femi, for that insightful and thought-provoking presentation. You've certainly given us a lot to reflect on, and I know the audience appreciates the valuable perspective you've shared. Well, and we also look forward to applying these insights as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
And to the audience, do we have any question to ask? Can you all hear me? Let me get a yes in the comment section if you all can hear me. All right, please let the questions start coming in, please. All right, before we go to the comment section, sir, I have a question to ask.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, what advice would you give to professionals looking to identify and capitalize on business opportunities in niche markets like veterinary medicine?
Okay, so take that question again. Sorry, I was distracted.
All right. What advice would you give to professionals looking to identify and capitalize on business opportunities in niche markets like veterinary medicine?
All right, so it's just about the soul of the presentation. It's a niche market, right? But again, the reason why you're saying it's a niche, but it affects everybody, right? So the way I positioned Pharmalab, it's not just animal health, despite we're an animal health care brand. Who in this place has eaten meat today? You've eaten meat, or you eat meat or chicken or protein. Maybe it's slightly more expensive now. So somebody said fish not, meat not. It means that don't put meat, don't put fish, right? So the beef you eat, the chicken you eat, the fish you eat, are they all not animals? Right. I see our work as a work that can thrive where there are humans, because humans eat protein, eggs. I have 4 children. There has to be egg and bread in the house and tea. Wow. So it depends on the approach and the insight you have. So if you want to capitalize on a niche market, first of all, what insights do you have? If you really want to do it and you're not a vet, go and serve somebody who is doing it. The owner of Coscharis, right? Big business person. I heard he was arguing on is it LinkedIn now, on Twitter? Somebody said he's worth $800 and something million. And he said, well, he's worth way more than that. So he's worth, and go and check his English. That's why I said, leave English, right? Focus on the numbers. He started by trading by serving somebody who gave him, at the end of the day, cheated him and gave him 200 naira to start his journey. He's now a freaking millionaire, or if you allow me to put it, billionaire, right? So if you want to capitalize on a niche market, first of all, I want to ask you, what's your experience like in that niche market? If you don't have unique insight, just go and rest. Do not work. Do not work. Because people have been in that industry. So you need to come with a fresh perspective, something that can disrupt the market. And if you don't have, but you really want to play in that niche market, you have to go and serve somebody who is already playing in that niche market. You have to. Because it is, don't forget, I said, lastly, business is an intellectual sport. You have to know what you're doing now. You cannot feel your way through niche markets. It's just like saying that you want to come, I've been in the animal healthcare industry for 20 years. And you don't know anything about it, and you want to outsmart me. How now? Or you can go and run with Usain Bolt because you feel like you want to capitalize on the 100-meter race. For somebody who had trained 4 years undivided, won world record. And so David can kill Goliath, but you have to have unique insights. So not to discourage you that you cannot come and topple. We could be Goliath and not looking at things. Nokia died. Like Nokia died. And one of his YouTube video, he was crying. That's Steve Ballmer. He said he didn't know that Nokia could fall. Yahoo died. They wanted to buy Yahoo one time like that. They refused. So you could be a David and you could kill a Goliath, but you have to have something that you will have to use to be able to kill the Goliath. So either if you're good in that, why not try it out? Do a pilot and see if it works. If you're not good at that and you really want to be in that industry, you have to go and serve somebody who is playing in the industry so that you can gain unique insights. Hello, can you hear me? Am I still audible?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Thank you very much for that answer. So we'll be taking Mr. Drew Jai now. Mr. Drew Jai, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead and ask the question.
And I can see quite a lot of questions on the chat also. I just hope to take them. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dr. Fem. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that insightful teachings. So I call it a teachings because there are a lot of things that we have to learn there. Okay, the question I want to ask is, a person that already have a niche on or a niche on a particular work or a particular business. But the business, you have all the technical know-how. You know everything. You have been doing the thing for like 10 years or so. But the business requires some kind of capital in terms of having for you to have a proper establishment. And you know about the business, you have been partnering, quote and unquote, in terms of getting a job, doing it in another company so that you can keep going. But you get to this place, you just discover that you have to expand, you have to really be on your own, you have to establish. How can someone go about that? And doing the business like that require a lot of money because you have to get the machine, you have to get majorly is the machine, you have to get the facility, you have to get the so many things that is required. And running to it's not something 10 million can do, it's not something 50 million can do. Something you even want to even manage to start, you're talking of 150 million. How can someone go about that to become an established person or an established business for his own growth? That's I don't know if the question is clear enough. Please.
Yes, that's very clear. So the reason why I smiled is because we will. So I know this is one of the most asked questions that people get to ask me, especially when I'm talking around how to grow a business, and capital is a big issue. I have some counterintuitive thought that has worked for me. And by the way, as I said, I started Farmalot in depth. Was just getting out of debt, and we started the business. Money is, so first of all, money is abundant. You have to, money is everywhere. So I know it will be very tough for you to accept because again, we've all been raised in a scarce environment. And I also had that issue. So what broke this thought? What broke the issue of scarcity of money? I had a friend then, you know, when we finished, we used to put me on his wall as his mentor. And then I fell into debt. I had a lot of struggles and life has turned for him. So he was buying cars, right? And, you know, one day I just were asking him, what are you doing? Then I realized that you need a different type of skill to raise money. Being good is okay. And I taught almost like a whole series to a few young people on money, right? You need a different kind of skills. First of all, if you think it is difficult, it's because you've not built the skill. Farmalot early this year raised $1 million, right? That's over 1.6, 1.7 billion in terms of Naira, right? You need a different kind of skills. And I'm happy to come back and teach how to raise money. But again, there's money everywhere. Ensure your numbers are right. And you cannot be talking to everybody. There are people who have this money, but needs you to convince them. First of all, you need to earn trust, have attraction, so you cannot tell me to give you 150 million when I've not seen what it is that you have done, right? That's why I said, do a pilot, have traction. Once you can demonstrate those traction, talk to the right people. There are people, was it last 2 weeks, I was talking to someone and he said, if we are raising money, I said, no, we're not raising money. So you could get to that point where people want to throw in money into you, but you don't want it. So, but it requires a special skill, and I'm happy to discuss this further, but it will take some time to get it through. But please know that there's money. There are people moving around with Ghana must go of money. There are people who have money in excess, looking for who to invest in. Are you believable? Do you have track record? And can you even identify them and talk to them? I think it was my friend that really opened my eyes to how to raise money. And once you learn that skill, the sky is just your starting point. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Femi, for the answer. Mr. Sisters, are you back?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay.
So we have a
Go ahead,
question
please.
here in the comment section. This is from Momolara Adelusi. I guess this will be the last question for today. While you had the idea, what did you do before you got funding for your business? This is a question from Momolara.
So do a pilot. See, when resources are scarce, right? That's where your creativity kicks in. Before funding, what are you doing? So if you commit money to somebody who is not doing anything, you are going to waste that money. So, and everything is not always rosy. We had a period in the business where everything was pretty very tough. But at the end of it, it brought out the genius. Sometimes what you need is creativity, not really even money. Because by the time you come across a very sound investor, they will be paying attention to how you think. Like I said, my last slide, business is an intellectual sport. Will this person waste this money? Has this person done something uniquely creative? So sometimes I share how it was tough to keep the business rolling for almost a year, what we did. The brain is elastic. Before you raise funding, so what can I do? If you want to manufacture something and the thing is not working, start by collecting credit from somebody to market that same thing. Because each passing day, once you're in that field, you're gaining insight. And think, right? I said jokingly in one of our meetings that, we're in a plane and then there was turbulence. At the end of the day, everybody was praying. But again, I was slightly comfortable. I was afraid, but slightly comfortable. At the end of the day, when the turbulence is, the woman asked me, am I an atheist? And by the way, I'm not an atheist, right? I'm a Christian. And I said, no, I've studied this plane that if it crashes, we're all dead. There's no two ways about it. We're all dead. But just imagine that before a plane flies, you have to pray, right? It has been commercialized because people are thinking. Africa needs to start thinking. There's something you can do to start. And I don't even need to be the one to tell you. Just sit down. What can I do? What can I do now to start? Who is doing this thing that is similar? What next step do I take while I wait for funding? And by the time you have the basics, you have the creativity, you have the discipline, by the time the funding comes, it will be you rejecting the funding. So what can you do? Start from where you are with what you have, where you are. Right. And then build from it. But if it is not working, sit down. Sometimes I can hold business problem for 2 months. What do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? I'm beating, I'm thinking about the problem. And don't forget, problems are opportunities. I'm eating, I'm thinking about the problem. Boom! One time like that, a flash of idea will just come, oh, this is how to solve it. And once it comes, people will just even think you're a genius. But pop, you have put your business in front of you and you start asking yourself questions. How do I go about resolving this? And maybe lastly, the most progressive sign in the English language is the question mark. Asking what, why, who, when, how can drive you yourself. You don't even believe you're a genius by the time you can keep your problem in front of you and think about it regularly.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have anyone? Can you please allow David Odeshola? I think he's been raising his hands for quite a while now. Didate, can you guys hear me, please?
Yes, can you hear me now? Thank
Okay,
you,
David
Dr.
Odeshola.
Karen. Oh, yes. I asked a question in the chat box, and this was just for you to do some deep dive as to some critical milestones in your journey with the farm alert and all that. But maybe I should just ask specific questions as to what bothers me with the environment we find ourselves. We find a lot of the informal sector. We have some things contending with business owners. On the face of it, on paper, you can put some things there as part of the cost of the business. But dealing with touts, dealing with, for instance, in the transport, if you have ideas of how to solve Nigeria's transport problem. One of the things that stifle a lot of startups in that space, government policies, association unions, and the rest of it. You have to settle, your truck broke down, you have to pay to even change the tire. A lot of issues that you have to contend with. And then you have a land, you are farming, you have somebody contending with you, encroaching on your land, you have people you have to be settling. These are things that you can't even put on your business plan or something, as maybe you even want to raise funds. You can't even put it on your pitch as some of the things you think the money of the investors will go on into. So how do you deal with all of these and still keep a business in this kind of toxic environment? Thank you.
So valid question, fantastic question, right? When we wanted to raise the funds we raised, it took us 6 months. And one of the biggest concerns they have is what you have just shared. So the volatility of the market, the unpredictability of the market. So valid concerns. But the first thing I want to say, don't be overwhelmed by the problem. So what I do most often is to put in front of me examples. Do you know how much Money Points did in revenue last year? Who knows? I'm checking the chart. Who knows? Money Points revenue last year. Who knows? Money Points revenue last year. Because Money Point is basically dealing with the what's it called now? The unstructured market. Well, maybe you can check. What is in trillions? $100 million. That's about 24 trillion. Not over 11 billion. $100 million. You know, what is this? But you could Google. Which commercial bank did that? So first of all, I put in front of me always people who are making things work in Nigeria. One point is a big example. You know, there's a certain Paul Alaji. And so when I wanted to invite him for a meeting, and I now was researching him. So I had the opportunity to meet with him. There's a way to think about problems. If you think about it in a negative way, it will overwhelm you. And I get overwhelmed though. So let me not act like a Superman. In fact, some days I get so overwhelmed because of the plenty bureaucracies or plenty, and I've done logistic business before because we were delivering and then trucks keep breaking down. I have one truck that stood almost on the road for a month. And there was a time we filled the truck with one of our goods and it got broken down, and thief came to attack the truck on the road and picked our goods. So I'm not saying that I'm not aware of this, right? But again, in the middle of it, you have a problem as an entrepreneur. Some get fat, but I don't know why I've not gotten really that fat, right? Because you're always having hurdles to cross. 3 things has worked for me, and I want you to pay attention. First of all, I put in front of me people who are excelling in this same market that is overwhelming. I listened to their story. There was a time we wanted to increase our revenue to $1 billion every month. And, you know, very difficult thought. I was like, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? Then one day I went back to Google how much MTN makes every month. That example alone wakes me up that if they can do it in Nigeria, we can do it. Have examples of people who are excelling in the country regardless of the problem. And what it does is to give your heart energy. What kills the entrepreneur is suicide. They kill themselves because of the load that they have in their heart. You have to be able to wake up regardless of how tired you are, knowing that it will work, and then tax your brain. One of the key things I do is to keep asking questions around. So when we had the issue of logistics, and we solved it in a creative way, now logistics is not our problem. Right? I kept asking people who were in logistics, what are the big issues? How do you overcome this? But I kept reaching out to people in LinkedIn. If I see that they are doing logistics, how do you do this? I have this problem. You're not asking questions enough, right? First, don't be overwhelmed. Secondly, you need to talk. You need to ask. You know, I said in one of my slides, look, listen, and learn. Because the more you learn, the more hurdles you can cross. All these issues that you have, there are people who have overcome it. I was listening on LinkedIn. Was it on LinkedIn? I can't remember. This guy that raised this guy, what's his name? Iyi, this flutter wave guy. And he said the way they did it for flutter wave is that they added stamp duty for government. And then they gave a percentage of whatever revenue they have to the bank. There's a way to plan your success with the success of people who can stop you. Your staff can stop you. There's a way to plan their success inside your success. You're thinking of yourself too much. So there's a way to handle it. So first of all, don't be overwhelmed. Put example in front of you. Secondly, ask questions. Then thirdly, experiment those things. Because sometimes some of the things you learn might not really work in your context. Try it out in a small way. I'm a master in experimenting. My people know that the first thing you do when a new idea comes, try it out. Experiment it. Is it working? And pay attention. Sit back and pay attention. Is it working? Will it work? Won't it work? Because your brain has to be working. The moment it works, in the process of experimentation, that's when you get insight on how to solve it. But more importantly and finally, the skill you learn in overcoming hurdle is a useful tool in Nigeria. You will have problems. Once you finish solving this small problem, another bigger problem will come, another bigger problem will come. So it is not even in the act of solving the problem. It's in the skill you build in solving the problem that really matter. So get at it. Once you solve it, use the same methodology to solve the next one, to solve the next one. But in Nigeria, those problems you just mentioned can be solved.
Thank you, sir. I know we've already consumed the allotted time, but I have this one last question, and I believe this cuts across everyone. I believe we all are all entrepreneurs here today. Sir, as we all understand, entrepreneurship often involves navigating uncertain terrain and seizing opportunities that may not always appear viable at first glance. In such instances, the ability to adapt and reassess is crucial for success. With that in mind, I'd like to ask, when you've encountered a business opportunity that didn't initially seem profitable, how did you pivot or reevaluate to find success?
This one is a very, very tough question, right? Because in questions like this, I avoid giving a straight answer, right? Because I've had moments where people will tell you all these things will not work, and the data doesn't show, right? Yet that this thing could work, right? It requires maturity for an entrepreneur to be fluid, right? To be fluid. Fluid in the sense of you're paying attention to the details, you're adding up the numbers, and you're listening to your intuition. Will this work? Won't this work? Right. So let me answer it this way. Learn it all. And learn on the Karate Kid. Jackie Chan was telling the Karate Kid, he said, learn it all, forget it all. I also pick a clue from what Steve Jobs said, right? Of blessed memory now. He said, sometimes you will not be able to connect the dots looking forward, but looking backward, you can connect the dots. So what happened to Steve Jobs? And I'll give you, he felt like the company was growing. He got some people in. When they came in, they felt like he was being so wayward, so out of the box. He wasn't thinking like a business executive. So the board overthrew him and they threw out Steve Jobs. And then Steve Jobs said he had moments of depression, went back, did this, whatever it is, had moments of quietness. And then he had the energy to start back and he started next. And the thing he did in next became, when he eventually came back to Apple, became one of the soul that pushed Apple forward, right? And that was when he gave that insight that sometimes it's difficult to connect the dot looking forward. But after all the experiences, you'll be able to connect the dot looking backward. So this is what I would say. Learn all. I cannot remember any successful. They were asking the CEO of JP Morgan, Damon. They said, "What do you do in the morning?" They also asked the CEO of Google, what's his name now, that what do you do in the morning? Both of them said they read. Right. You will need data and insight, and that can only come from paying attention to whatever it is in your industry. There's a level of knowledge you will gain that you can quickly say by maybe because of the plenty data you've gathered that this thing will work, this thing will not work. You have to make it a daily routine to learn from people who are ahead. You cannot, as a business executive, jump that course. And that course cannot be a first semester or a second semester course. It's a life learning course. I read. I went to Lagos, and then by the time I was coming back, I bought 17 books. Right? I know books have been overplayed, so let's leave books alone. But learning from these people, I learned from Money Point, I learned from this, I learned from this. By the time those insight comes in one brain, and you see a trend, because of the years or the months of learning, you can join some things together. And sometimes when you join those things together, your intuition clicks. So when the data doesn't show and your intuition is strong that this thing is going to work, you are an entrepreneur now. I read a quote that entrepreneurship, sometimes you jump, and while you are going there, that's when you are building the parachute. You've jumped, I've jumped like that. But these, I have to be very careful because, it's an off-the-shoot assessment. When your intuition kicked in, you own it. If you fall into trouble with your own cup of tea, you rise, you will learn. And then you rise back. If you don't fall into trouble, then you will be a genius. Everybody will be admiring you. Lastly and finally on this, right? Every experience or every experimentation is a learning point, right? John C. Maxwell, in one of his books, they said, how do you learn to make good decisions? He said, through bad decision, right? So if your intuition kicks in, you've learned all the insight and it doesn't work. Failure is not the end of it now. It is part of it. So you learn from it. By the time you try another thing, you're a better person. I've failed more times than I've succeeded. And that's why sometimes when somebody comes to me with a business opportunity, I can better say from years of experience that this thing will not work, this thing will not work. But I still allow my heart to also dictate when things are not clear, because you have moments when things are not clear where you have to allow your intuition kicks in. So this is not a regular business like you have to. So this is purely from an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And I talk, and by the way, I've not gone to a business school, a formal business school. And I'm happy. My Dr. Jumoke, I don't know whether she's on this call. She has said I should join the Rome Business School for the next cohort. I told her next year I will pay attention. So maybe I could learn. But again, nobody's a custodian of some of this knowledge. Do what works. If it works for you, then you'll be a superstar being celebrated by all.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Femi. Thank you so much for addressing those questions with such depth and clarity. You have really enriched the discussion and provided us with a lot of valuable insights. And I thank you to our audience for your thoughtful questions. This has been truly an engaging and informative session. I would like to ask in the comment section, I hope you all learned something today. I want to see a yes response from you all, please.
I hope so.
Oh, great. Great, great. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, good to see you.
All right, we have Mr. Adeleke on the call. Mr. Idowu, please.
Okay, Sixes,
Yes,
we'll be
please.
having Mr. Chris in place of Mr. Idowu. Mr. Chris, are you here? Hello, Mr. Chris, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Chiamaka. All right, thank you so much, Chiamak, and thank you, Dr. Kayode, and also thank you for Dr. Helge for the wonderful presentation and insights into turning challenges into opportunities. And thank you, sisters, for also moderating this amazing session. My name is Christopher Lawal, the head of admissions, Rome Business School, Nigeria. Okay, and I appreciate the presence of everybody on this call, taking out time from your busy schedule to ensure you make it down here. I believe it has been a fruitful conversation and of course, insights, particularly gained a whole lot from this conversation as far as opportunities and problems are concerned, because like you said, it's in the problem you see the opportunities, or you get the opportunities, and we shouldn't shy away from challenges and problems. Okay, so today officially marks the last business leadership development program for the October 2024 intake. Okay, so it's been a long ride from April, if I'm not mistaken, where we've been taking our students, the new intake class for the October 2024, and of course, current students on, updating them on what is trending from different area and from different field. Okay, and I also like to inform for prospective students not yet enrolled for the program that we'll be rounding off the application process for the October 2024 intake. Okay, so counting down to the end of the intake by end of this month, and of course the commencement of the April 2025 intake by October. Okay, so if you're yet to make decision in this regard, I would admonish you to join the winning team and of course the moving train to better equip yourself with the right skill sets needed to take on the challenges of the 21st century business place. Okay, so the best time to do a master is now, and the next best time is still now. So why not take that bold step and join the network of professionals and also entrepreneurs, getting and seeking to improve their knowledge. Okay, so the classes are very flexible for professionals, weekends, and of course, learning are very practical. Okay, so it's an avenue to bring challenges of the day-to-day activity, and of course, get knowledge that you can practicalize, in your business or in your professional workspace. Okay, so I look forward to seeing those yet on board to come on board for the program as we plan for the orientation ceremony for next month. And it's been a pleasure. I would like to appreciate students that have been participating month in, month out for this webinars and other engagements by the school. I believe you've become a better professional and a business owner, because the idea of the Business Leadership Development Program is to take you one step to becoming a global business leader. And of course, other activities that you'll be engaging in during the course of the program will see that also comes to fruition. It's been a pleasure once again. I'd like to hand over the microphone now to the career service. Thank you so much, and God bless.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chris, for that wonderful information. Great information. Thank you, Dr. Kayode. We really appreciate your presence here today. It was really an insightful, very, very insightful session, because you see the students are really commenting on the chat box. And I would really like to also thank Mr. Sixtus. Thank you so much for your time, for bringing out your time to moderate this section today as well. So for some students that are actually asking for Dr. Kayode's handle on LinkedIn, he's on LinkedIn as Dr. Femi Kayode. Yes, and he's the CEO and founder of Farm Alert. So with your questions, you can actually reach out to him on LinkedIn to ask him your questions. And I'm sure he will be willing to answer your questions there. And you can also connect with him as well. Then Sixtus is also on LinkedIn. He's one of our students here in entrepreneurship and innovations. Actually, that's his program in Rome Business School. You can also connect with him on LinkedIn as well. And I'm sure he is willing to assist you in any way he can. Then for some of us that are dropping attendance, there is a survey. There is a survey. I'm putting it out again. You can do well to fill the survey to get the slides and recording of this section. The survey has been dropped in the chat box. You can do well to fill it and not be dropping your names and your phone numbers. So just fill the survey. You do well to take it up from there to share this the slide. Mr. Kayode, I know he's going to share the slides with us because some students are actually requesting for it. So he will send it to us and we'll share with you. For those of you that will fill the survey, so do well to fill this survey. It's very, very important. And on behalf of everyone here in Rome Business School, we'd like to appreciate you and thank you for joining, and also inform you that we'll be having another section tomorrow. It's going to be a career acceleration section. And for some of you that are in the entrepreneurship part, we'll be having your incubation program as well. So let's do well to join and continue to work on ourselves in this career space. And hopefully we'll get there very soon. Thank you so much. Victor, I don't know if you have anything to say.
Nothing much. Thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Kayode, for your time. Thank you for honoring us. We're looking forward to having you not just as a guest next time, but as our student. We're looking forward to that. Thank you for your time. We'll reach out to you to get the slide so as to send to our students. Have a lovely weekend and goodbye from us.
Thank you.
All right. Please do well to fill the survey and bye. See you.
Hello, the person you're